I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Monday, December 15th meeting of the El Monte City School District Board of Education, and I call the meeting to order at 5:03. Thank you for being here this evening. We'll begin with roll call. We do have a few board members missing right now, but they are on their way. Mr. Peralta is absent, and so is Mrs. Cobian. Mrs. Mendez Garcia,
Present.
Mr. Segrist,
Present.
and Rivas present as well. We'll begin with the flag salute, and as is our custom, we have a student here to lead us. I'd like to invite Andrew Morales Robles from Frank Wright School to please come to the mic and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hello, my name is Andrew Morales Robles, and I will be leading the flag salute. Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Thank you, Andrew, and we look forward to hearing more from you in a few minutes. We'll begin with the district administration update. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas. Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to kick off this month's update framed around our strategic plan. We're going to kick it off with the priority area number 1, ensuring academic excellence for all students, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Pinedo.
Good evening. So we just completed our second diagnostic of the year, our iReady diagnostic, and with that data, our teachers are engaged this week in our PD days, and they are using that data in their professional learning communities, or PLCs, to really analyze the data and see what their next steps are going to be using the 4 questions of the PLCs, which is what do we want students to learn, which are the district's essential standards and defining success criteria. How will we know that they learned it? They're looking at various data sources, including MClass data, which is our literacy screener, the iReady data that we just received, and then our CFA math data. And then what do we do if students have not learned it? And so they are going to design their instruction to include strategic classroom interventions and provide small group support, and really breaking it down by skill and standard to be able to meet the needs of the students. And then what will we do for students who have already mastered it? And so teachers will be identifying enrichment tasks that elevate the depth of knowledge levels, application, and cross-disciplinary thinking. So that's for most of our teachers. For our 7th and 8th grade science, social studies, and PE teachers, they are working on continuing their work in integrated ELD to support our English learners in the content areas.
Thank you. And as we move on towards priority area number 2, delivering diverse experiences and opportunities that prepare students for future success, I do want to add that I know that we ask a lot of our school community to accommodate our school schedules, especially when we do professional development. So I just want to express my gratitude to our parents, guardians, families, because professional development is really important. I know it disrupts the schedule, and we're very appreciative that we're partners in this endeavor. So I'll turn it over to, once again, Dr. Pinedo.
So for priority area 2, a focus goal 2.2, ensuring that every student participates in at least one elective, enrichment program, athletic opportunity, or club annually to support personalized engagement. I just wanted to showcase some of the things that have been taking place throughout the district this past month. Our wonderful cheer squad, from the representatives from all of our schools throughout the district participated in the City of El Monte's parade, the first one for the tree lighting ceremony, and we had a lot of students representing our district and making us very proud. Last week, our Rio Hondo Choir sang beautifully for the PTA Council Holiday Luncheon. Our soccer students from Columbia are practicing in the hopes of defending their title. And Potrero students are engaged in their CTE elective. Paxton Patterson and these students here are modeling their learning of cosmetology.
Thank you. Moving on to priority area number 3, preparing students to thrive in an interconnected world.
It's me again. So, all of this, all of the work we're doing with our strategic plan and every day wouldn't be possible without partnerships with our families and our parents specifically. And so part of the strategies that we identified in our strategic plan was to host ongoing multilingual family learning sessions focused on social emotional development, healthy technology use, and overall well-being. And so our community liaisons have been presenting the 7 Habits family workshops by The Leader and Me, and they're doing this in their feeder patterns within their schools. And then our social workers in the district are providing mental health workshops throughout the year, really touching on a variety of very important topics such as overcoming anxiety, stigma and mental health, self-esteem, social media and mental health, and then, middle school challenges and how to support students in middle school. And continuing with that, we also have our health program education specialists and our community liaisons really supporting and providing education for parents around just social media and cell phones and how to use parental controls in the cell phones, managing screen time and content, and really helping parents to understand the impact that those devices have on our students, especially our youngest ones.
An exciting update to share with the board. We started an initiative earlier this calendar year. We've been rolling it out school by school, and earlier this month, we officially have our Soper for All program fully launched at all EMCSD schools. And this is a program that offers an after-school or a meal now to students after the bell, regardless of their participation in the after-school program or not, right? So a good percentage of our students do participate in after-school programming. And for the rest of our students that don't, they now have the opportunity and the families to swing by the cafeteria after the bell at dismissal time, right, to consume a nutritious meal before going home for the day. I imagine that many parents have been in a situation where they pick up their kids, they take them home, and the first thing the child says is, "I'm hungry," right? So now the opportunity is there for the child to consume another meal at school after the bell, regardless of their participation in the after-school program. So we're excited to launch that, and it's something that also the timing of it, it coincides with some adjustments or some new guidance from the federal level regarding SNAP benefits and who qualifies and things like that. Locally, our data shows that 2,400 students qualify. It's about 35% of our students. So it's an added benefit that families may partake in now, and it's not contingent on the child's participation in the after-school program. So we're excited to roll that program out.
Thank you. And moving on to priority area number 4, aligning leadership, staffing, and resources to student-centered priorities. I'll turn it over to Mr. Sallenbach.
Good evening. Every year, Los Angeles County Office of Education does salary comparisons. And so at the end of the school year, they did a salary comparison based on all 78 reporting districts within Los Angeles County. And they share those results with districts, and we utilize them as part of our strategic planning and so on as we look at where we compare to our neighbors and so on. And so I'm pleased to share that for the 24-25 school year, we actually rank 7th among all 78 reporting districts. And that's the maximum salary. And because every district might have a little variance in terms of what their salary schedule looks like, they use a 25-year mark. Our salary schedule only goes up to 22. And so that's technically 22 for us, where others actually go up to 25 or additional bonuses kick in for longevity. And that's all factored in at the 25-year mark for them. So all that said, we still sit at 7th district-wide in terms of all districts, and that would be our unified districts along with the high school districts and then the elementary districts. When we look at our comparables, which would be elementary districts, because that's really what you want to compare yourself to because our budgets are similar and resources and so on, we actually still rank number 1 in terms of salary at the max level out of all 26 elementary school districts. And as I shared with you, just kind of an idea of the districts that are Around us, you have El Monte Union, that's just above us. We're right behind them in seventh overall. Mountain View is a few below, and then you have Rosemead that's sitting 12th overall in the county as well.
We're pleased to report the board will receive at the January board meeting, as they do every year, the audit report. And we just recently received news from our auditor, the preliminary audit report, which will be a final draft taken to the January board meeting, that we close out the last fiscal year with the highest opinion that the auditor can issue and no audit findings on the past fiscal year when that financial audit was completed. So thank you to our business office team and everyone else. It's not just something that lies in business office. Actually, our entire district and schools play a part in making sure that we remain in compliance to make sure that we can have a successful audit report every year. We value the trust that the families place in us, the fiscal stewardship that we have to make sure that we are investing the funds appropriately and making sure that we are maximizing our resources, right? And this also is welcome news. I know we have some financial tough times ahead, right, with the structural deficit. We'll hear more about that later in the presentation in the board meeting. We'll hear the first interim update. So it's thankful that there's no audit findings and there's no funds that need to be returned back to the state or federal government.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera, and I echo your sentiments. Congratulations to the business team. And just in closing, although this is a slide that represents, one of our several of our priorities within the strategic plan, I want to take this opportunity to wish our entire school community, district community, happy holidays on behalf of El Monte City School District. And I think the best way of doing it is by showcasing all the wonderful things that are happening throughout the district. Very proud of all of the investments that we make as a community, investing in children, investing in music, and art and education and family. It truly is what brings community together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the wonderful report and your words, your sentiments at the end there, Dr. Garcia. So it's time now for board reports. And a lot of us did attend CSBA. We'll save that for our discussion session at the end. And so we'll have plenty of time at that point to share any of the highlights that we'd like to. But for now, Mrs. Cobian, would you like to start us off with the board reports?
Yes, thank you. And again, happy holidays to everyone. Just wanted to share, I love this time of year because we get so many opportunities to come together as a community. I was able to attend the PTA luncheon last week, and it was just a really neat opportunity for parents and educators to get together and kind of celebrate the year. Also was a part of the holiday mixer and the tamalada, and I know we'll be continuing to celebrate that tonight. And I think other than that, just really excited of all the performances. I love seeing, I'll just say, one of our words is elevate, and how elevated we have become as a district in terms of the programs and opportunities that we offer our students. And so I will conclude with that and say happy holidays again to everyone.
Thank you. Mrs. Mendez-Garcia?
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Now, one of the things that we had discussed, right, is how can we go about with connecting more with attending more school functions and district events, but also still engaging with our community, because as we saw with our tree lighting ceremony, a lot of our students participate in events like that, the Children's Day parades. I was able to attend the tree lighting ceremony along with Dr. Pinedo and Mr. Sullenbach for a little bit, and something that they changed this year is that it was on Main Street this year. So for years, it's been in front of the community center. And so that was done by City Councilwoman Longoria, who said, a lot of other cities hold their tree lighting in their main street hub, right? So that was a change that was done this year. And so, yeah, I definitely provided that same opportunity to provide that parade-like environment. And I wasn't able to stay the whole time at Miss Santa, but there was a lot of families there. So again, that just speaks to how much our parents enjoy coming out to see their children, not only with the holiday performances at their schools, but also in their community, right? And they also had, it was the high school, I think, one of the high school orchestras also performed, did the opening number. So again, just another great way that our students are enjoying and connecting with the city events, and we're able to also as a district go and support them. And along with all of us, I also attended the mixer. So again, it's always great to then connect with staff in a more casual environment. And we always love our annual tamalada, where we can honor someone from our district along with someone from the Mountain View School District and hear their stories, Almani Union High School and Rio Hondo College. So it's great that's a great way that we're all there together to really honor and show such the great people that are working in the various districts that are so focused and giving above and beyond to support our students in our community. Yeah, so thank you.
Mr.
I'll be as
Segrist.
brief as possible. I'm so delighted to see those wonderful reports tonight. I would recommend that we promote those in the media, especially through the San Gabriel Valley Tribune, Mid-Valley News, and other media, because a lot of people keep asking, what are they doing in the school? If we don't tell them what we're doing in the schools, they're not going to know and not to understand and appreciate the wonderful things being done. I would recommend that our district do something for the first time, and that's have every school apply for the Carson Scholarship. Last year, for the first time, Rosemead High School had one girl who applied and she got it. It's from 4th grade to 11th grade. It's $1,000, one per school. If you don't apply, you can't get it. But if you do apply, you have a great chance. And in closing, attending the annual California School Board Association conference was amazing. I wasn't able to fly up there. I drove my car. That's the last time I'm ever going to do that. Never again drive to Sacramento. But again, in closing, I'm so proud of what our district does, and I think we need to promote it even more. And I attended a wonderful event last night at Nativity Church, and the choir from Mountain View High School was there, and some of the performers were graduates from some of our local schools, our own district. So again, congratulations to all of our staff in our district and our wonderful teachers. And I'm so impressed with the training that's going on. I know teachers in other districts, and I tell them about what goes on here, and they say, how come we're not doing that over there? Because they need to. So in closing, I'm proud to be a member of this board and to know that all the wonderful things, we care so much about the kids, especially the mental health and how they feel. That's so important. And if you find the media right now, you'll see how many horrible, tragic things are happening. And I say it's because the schools and the families forgot to take care of that when the children were little. It starts there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. I also was able to attend the holiday mixer and the tamalada. At the mixer, was really happy to run into several retirees, and as well as current staff, and it really is a wonderful event. So thank you to everyone who organized that and put that on. Still enjoying the decor that was created by each of the different programs. And at the tamalada, it really has I think we all know this, but it really has become just such a central part of the way we celebrate the holidays in this community. And so to be able to come together and celebrate local educators, that would be our purpose for coming together, is really something special, and it was wonderful to be a part of that again this year. I also was able to go to the District 1 PTA meeting and holiday breakfast, where we were able to mix with PTA members from our district, from the neighboring high school district, from other districts, in the local area as well. So like Mrs. Cobian was saying, to have district staff and parents together celebrating the holidays and just sharing, this is what PTA does and this is what we're about. It's a great opportunity. So thank you all for sharing. We'll move on to items of interest. And first up, we have our school presentation. Again, I'd like to invite Andrew forward to share with us about Frank Wright School.
Thank you for having me here. Again, my name is Andrew Morales Robles, and I'm a 7th grade student at Frank Wright, and I'll be talking about our school, Frank Wright. At Frank Wright, we lead with aloha and learn with heart and achieve beyond our limits. Kickstarting the new school year, our school had a welcome back barbecue, back to school, breakfast with the parents and partners in learning. Community family engagement, trunk or treat, Halloween parade, Children's Day parade, Thanksgiving festival, winter concerts for 7th and 8th grade, winter programs for kinder through 6th, and a camp wellness that we will have in January, and math night and open house. Student life, Playworks 1st through 6th recess, Wellness Center, the Giving Every Moments Club, which is a club where students are welcome to come into room 10 and make crafts for their loved ones or teachers or new supervisors. Spirit themed days and weeks are special days where students can come in and wear special clothes for the occasion. ELOP, cheerleading, soccer for success, youth cinema projects, culinary, musical, esports, and clubs and yearbooks and Right on the Move, and so on. Student leadership. Middle school ASB, I am actually a part of the ASB program. I am a homeroom rep and the Lighthouse team, the 4th through 6th grade Lighthouse team, Playworks, junior coaches. Peer mediation is something where students figure out a problem with no adults. Student-led conferences, student-led assemblies, community service opportunities too. Student achievement celebrations at Frank Wright. We are committed to celebrating student success throughout the year. Leaders of the Month celebrating leaders of the 7 habits, monthly ST Math recognition incentives, SBAC achievement celebrations, already diagnostic growth celebrations and incentives, the Carol Sano Award, and attendance recognition and incentives. The Paxton Patterson Exploratory Lab, career and technical education, middle school semester elective courses, graphic design, 3D printing, rocket design, culinary, and so on. And these are some pictures of our special events. Again, thank you for having me here. I am honored to talk about our school in front of all of you, and thank you.
Very much. Great job. Thank you for sharing the information and the pictures. That was great. Number 2, under items of interest, we have Dr. Teresa Pinedo sharing about the California dashboard.
Good evening, President Rivas, Governing Board, and community members. So this evening, I'm going to be presenting how Amani City School District is progressing on the California dashboard. So the dashboard is a tool that parents and educators can use to see how districts and schools are performing in comparison to others. And it compares last year's scores with growth. So how we're doing over time. Did we improve? The data identifies strengths and opportunities for growth, and it uses data to inform the development of things such as our LCAP, our Local Control Accountability Plan, the site plan, the SIPSAs we call them, and then also our progress on our strategic plan. It's updated every year, and it's actually in November now, so they're getting better and better at getting it to us sooner. And performance is calculated using the previous year's data. For example, this year's dashboard is using last year's 24-25 school data. And it measures performance at 5 levels. Levels are determined using the current year, 24-25, and the prior year, 23-24. And they're represented by a color ranging from red being the lowest performance to blue being the highest performance. And so the goal is to be scoring in the green or blue areas. This is a state measure, academic performance, and we compare ourselves to where the state landed. So on the left, you'll see where the state came out in terms of the Smarter Balanced Summative Assessments, the SBAC, which is the state assessment that we take at the end of the school year, and also the California Alternative Assessment, which is an assessment that some of our special education students take. And this is given to all 3rd through 8th grade students each spring. And so you'll see that the district is in the yellow for language arts. We did increase from last year. We were in the orange, and so we went up by 4.7 points. And we are 8.2 points below the standard. So they call this distance from standard, and that standard would put us in the green area. So we're 8.2 points below that standard. In math, we remain the same, exactly the same as last year. It says negative 0.1. And so because we did not have growth in that area, it actually pushed us from yellow to orange for this school year. The English Learner Progress Indicator really shows us how we're doing in terms of our students and their language proficiency. Every year in the spring, they take the LPAC, and this is used to calculate English learner proficiency and the percentage of students who are progressing on the LPAC assessment. And so this year, 53% of our students are making progress, and this is an increase from the year before by 9%. So we are in the green. In terms of chronic absenteeism, we don't want to see an increase in this area. We want to see a decrease. And so students who are absent for 10% or more of our instructional days would be considered chronically absent. And so 8.1% of our students were chronically absent last year. That's a decline of 1.9%. And so we scored in the green. And another area is our suspension rate. And so this measures the percentage of students who were suspended for at least one full day during the school year. A student is counted as suspended in the suspension rate only one time, regardless of the multiple suspensions or multiple days of suspension. And this is another area that we want to see a decline, not an increase. And so 1.2% of our students were suspended at least one day last year, and that's a decline of 0.3%. So we scored in the green. For our science assessment, the California Science Test, this measure shows us how our students in grades 5 and 8 are performing on the science assessment. This is for performance, informational purposes only. It is not measured into our accountability. And so we scored at 50.9% science points. We maintained at 0.7%, and so we are in the orange there. We also measure local measures. So everything before this were state measures. These are local measures, and districts receive one of 3 ratings for each of these measures. We either met it, we did not meet it, or we did not meet it for 2 years or more. So for basic conditions, this is saying that we have appropriately assigned teachers, students have curriculum-aligned instructional materials, and students have access to safe, clean, and functional school facilities. We met this measure. Implementation of academic standards is that we are implementing state-adopted content and performance standards, and that our English learner students, we enable English learner students to improve their understanding of academic course content and their expertise in using the English language, and we met that standard as well. Parent involvement and family engagement is another local measure, and this is related to how we are doing in promoting parental participation in programs, including building relationships between school staff and families. And then our school climate surveys are related to student, parent, and teacher perceptions of school safety and connectedness, and we met this measure as well. And finally, access to courses is the extent to which students have access to a broad course of study, including English, math, social science, science, and visual and performing arts, health, and PE, and we met that as well. Any questions regarding our progress on the dashboard?
Any questions? No. Thank you so much, Dr. Pinedo.
Thank you.
And last, under items of interest, it's our privilege tonight to recognize Maritza Dueñas, who was recognized at the Tamalada, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Garcia. But beforehand, I'll just say that I heard so many people at the mixer reference how they were looking forward to going to celebrate to celebrate you at the Tamalada, and it was a wonderful, wonderful time for the our district community to celebrate together. Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, President Rivas, and you're spot on. I think everybody here knows and loves Maritza Dueñas in the El Monte City School District. And last Thursday, we had the opportunity to gather as a community to celebrate educators, and it was a privilege and an honor to highlight Maritza Dueñas representing El Monte City School District. I'll tell you a really fun fact as I was walking in. I always greet the Laurels. It's an honorary service club from El Monte High School. As a former Laurel, I make that connection. And I said to the young ladies, I said, oh, I love the Laurels. And they're like, a Laurel is being celebrated tonight. And I said, oh, really? And they said, Mrs. Maritza Dueñas is a Laurel. And so apparently they talked about it at their meeting, that one of their own was being celebrated. And so they all signed up to be there and recognize a Laurel, which speaks volumes of the work that Maritza continues to do in this community. She started as a young student and then has always given back to this community. And I do want to highlight that she's here with her son once again, who's in finals this week and he's here to celebrate his mom. So impressive. Maritza is just an extraordinary classroom teacher, and I shared a little bit about her at Tamalada. She started as a teacher at New Lexington, and then she became a dual language teacher at Durfee, and it's just touched so many lives and has been such just a leader when it comes to the dual language program. In her role currently as a teacher on special assignment, she's become a cornerstone of the dual language immersion program. She has led as a teacher and as a leader with empathy, clarity, cultural pride, supporting currently our Spanish and our Mandarin programs across the district. And she's just a constant presence in classrooms, in community events, in all things we do. She's so thoughtful when it comes to data. She's so thoughtful and curious and just such an inspiration when it comes to just doing things differently to really meet the need for kids. And as I shared, her impact extends beyond the dual language program. She's also serves as our GATE lead teacher, supporting just all of the wonderful GATE programs that the district offers. She's also cultivated a summer STEAM program specifically for the dual language program. And she does so much. I mean, we could be here all evening, but I do want to take this opportunity to invite Maritza to come up so we can once again thank her and highlight her for giving so much to others, for always making classrooms a priority. And I do want to say that she works so quietly but powerfully on behalf of students and community, and that's noted. So please join me in congratulating Maritza Dueñas, our 2025 Bobby Salcedo Esperanza Award recipient. And I'd like to invite the board to come up so we can take a picture.
It's time now for communications. I see that we have no public comment. And Dr. Garcia, do we have any written communications?
No written communication has come forward.
Okay. Well, at this time, it's time for the annual reorganization of the board. So I'll hand the meeting over to Dr. Garcia, who will lead us through the reorganization.
Thank you, President Rivas. This is an annual job of responsibility of the board to reorganize, and so at this point, I will lead the actions into selecting a new president, vice president, clerk, LACSTA representative, and then finally, we will approve our meeting schedule for the 2026 school year. So I'll begin with item number 1, consideration of approval of the El Monte City School District Board President. Is there a nomination?
I would like to nominate Mrs. Mendez Garcia for board president.
I'll second.
Mrs. Mendez, do you accept?
I accept.
Wonderful. We have a first by Mrs. Rivas, second by Mr. Peralta. Discussion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion approved, 5-0. Congratulations, Mrs. Mendez. Moving on to consideration of approval of the El Monte City School District Board Vice President.
I'll nominate Mr. Peralta.
Mr. Peralta, do you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Wonderful. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A first and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations, Mr. Peralta. Next item, consideration of approval of the El Monte City School District Board Clerk.
I'll nominate Mrs. Cobian.
Mrs.
I'll
Cobian, do you accept? Wonderful.
I will second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Next item, consideration of approval of the selection of representative to the Los Angeles County School Trustee Association, LACSTA.
I'll nominate Mr. Segrist.
Mr. Stigris, you accept? Wonderful. Do we have a second?
Second.
First and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And lastly, consideration of approval of the El Monte City School District Board of Education annual meeting schedule.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
First and second, any discussion?
If we can be provided a hard copy of the schedule?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Congratulations to our reorganization of the board. Before moving on to to closed session, I would like to invite Mrs. Dueñas to come up and say a few words. I am so sorry because we came up and we took the picture, but it was our intent to bring you up and just allow you to say a few words. Mrs. Dueñas, would you like to approach the microphone? Yes, please.
You're also very kind. Thank you so much. I'm very humbled. I'm so humbled that I was even considered for this award. It means a lot to me to represent someone such as Bobby Salcido. I read about his history and how much he devoted to this community. And I think I shared that. I feel like as someone who received so much from this community, it's my turn to give back to it. And it's one of the reasons I decided to become an educator here at the El Monte City School District. I owe so much to this community. My family owes so much to it. So it's our turn to give back. And what better way to give back than to help be that village for our future, right? So thank you so much. I'm so humbled by this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Thank you. At this time, the board will be going into closed session. During closed session, the board will be discussing pursuant to Government Code 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, EMETA, CSEA 10, and CSEA 356. We will also conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation pursuant to subdivision D2 of section 54956.9, one potential case. Thank you.
Good evening. We are resuming open session at 5:59 p.m. This is your new board president, Lisette Mendez Garcia. During closed session on item 1 and 2, no action was taken. I do want to take the time before we start with our agenda thanking Mrs. Beth Rivas, for your 2 years of service. I wanted to acknowledge that. So as board president, and just to kind of let everyone know, there, like any board member, right, we always, it's time out of our, whether it's work or personal, to make sure that we're reading up on before our meetings on all the different policies. But as board president, you're also doing the extra duty of meeting with the superintendent to set the agenda every month, right? Any type of email that comes from different community members, right, that may be directed to the board, that is the board president that responds to those emails in collaboration with the superintendent. And so, and then just being cognizant of being that face of the board, right? If there's different events that we're not able to attend, that board president attends on behalf of us. So thank you so much for taking on the extra duty of being board president for 2 years.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, perfect. All right, we will now move on with the rest of our agenda, starting with approval of minutes. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the November 17th board meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Are there any questions or discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I abstain.
And I abstain.
Okay, we have 2 abstentions. So the motion carries. It's going to be 3 with 2 abstains. We will now move on to our action and consent agenda. At this time, are there any items that a board member would like to pull separately to vote on and discuss separately? Okay. If that's the case, then we will, is there a motion to approve our action and consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving on to our actions, letter M. The first item being consideration of approval of certification of signatures.
President Mendes Garcia, governing board members, this evening you have the annual certification of signatures that reflect the reorganization of the board.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries 5-0. All right, second item is consideration of approval of the 25-26 first interim financial report.
Thank you, Board of Education. Tonight we have our Director of Fiscal Services, Ms. Jen Piatos, that will be providing the board and the community an update of our first interim financial report that we're required to bring to the board by December 15th each year. As we're getting the presentation up and she's getting ready, one thing that I'm sure y'all heard at the CSBA conference earlier this month was some updated financial tax revenue projections from the Legislative Analyst Office. Tax revenues in the current fiscal year are tracking slightly ahead of where the projections are, which is welcome news. Something that we look forward to next month in January when the governor comes out with his final budget proposal during his governorship term for the upcoming fiscal year is hopefully some potential one-time funds that are coming to education. There is some deferrals that are currently in effect, so we hope that the funding, if it does materialize, is utilized to pay off some of the deferrals. Those are IOUs that the state plays around with at the state level with some accounting gimmicks. And so we hope that there's some excess funding still left over, and we'll have some more details in January when the state of the districts provide. Hopefully by then we'll have the governor's update, and hopefully we'll have some updated news, right? That at the moment we don't have projections, but we think there may be a few $1 million of one-time dollars that are coming to El Monte City School District in the upcoming budget year. So with that, I'll turn over to Ms. Piatos to give an update on the district's first interim.
Yes. Good evening, board members, Dr. Garcia, cabinet members, and members of the public. Tonight, I'll be presenting the 25-26 first interim financial report, which is a required mid-year checkpoint used to determine whether the district can meet its final obligations for the current fiscal year and the subsequent 2 fiscal years. Before we get into the numbers, I want to briefly show you where we are at in the annual budget cycle. Each year begins with the governor's state budget proposal in January, followed by the May revision, which updates funding assumptions based on the state's economic outlook. In June, the board adopts the district's LCAP and budget after the state budget is finalized. In September, the board reviews the prior year's unaudited actuals, which officially closes the previous fiscal year. And then tonight's presentation represents the first interim report, which provides an updated snapshot of the district's financial condition midway through the year. The next formal checkpoint will be the second interim report in March, followed by adoption of the 26-27 LCAP and budget in June. With that context in mind, I'll start by providing a high-level overview of the district's financial position across all funds. This slide summarizes the district's financial position across all funds. For 25-26, total revenues are projected at $230.1 million. Total expenditures are projected at $231.4 million, which results in an all-funds deficit of approximately $1.28 million. This total includes restricted funds such as grants and bond proceeds, which are legally limited to specific purposes and cannot be used for general operating costs. To understand what is driving the general fund results, I'll first walk through where our funding comes from. This slide shows the district's major revenue sources. We have the LCFF revenue total approximately $104.6 million. Federal revenues, $28.8 million, primarily from Head Start, Child Nutrition, Titles 1 through 4, and Special Education. And we have state revenues of $36.2 million, including ELOP, Stirs on Behalf, Community Schools, Prop Arts, Prop 28, and then the student support. We have local revenues totaling $47.1 million, primarily from special education, interest income, developer fees, and bond proceeds. LCFF remains our largest revenue source because it is driven by enrollment and attendance. Next, I'll walk through how those resources are being spent to support students in operations. This slide shows how the district's resources are allocated across all funds for the 25-26 school year. As you can see, salaries and benefits make up about 65% of the total expenditures. Contracted services, which include items such as utilities, transportation, special education services, represent approximately 15% of the total spending. And the remaining expenditures include books and supplies and capital outlay, which support instructional materials, technology, and facility-related needs. Overall, this slide reinforces that the district's budget is primarily driven by people and core instructional services. This slide highlights the general fund, which reflects the district's core operating budget. The general fund shows that ongoing expenditures continue to exceed ongoing revenues, resulting in a projected deficit of for 25-26. While the district began the year with a strong fund balance, we are using a portion of those reserves to cover the shortfall, which reduces the ending balance. This chart visually reinforces the structural deficit discussed earlier and highlights why continued monitoring and long-term planning remain critical. Because LCFF makes up the largest share of our revenue, I want to briefly explain how the funding is generated. This slide provides a high-level overview of the LCFF, which is the district's primary funding source. Under LCFF, we receive a base grant, which is generated by all students and considered unrestricted. In addition, the district receives supplemental and concentration grants, which are generated by English learners, low-income students, and foster youth. These supplemental and concentration funds are required to be used to improve or increase services for the students who generate them and play a critical role in supporting targeted programs and services across the district. This slide shows how our LCFF is calculated and funded for the 25-26 school year. LCFF revenue comes from three primary sources: state aid, local property taxes, and EPA. When broken down by component, our LCFF fundings include the base grants, supplemental and concentration grants, as well as several add-ons such as class size reduction, TK transportation, and TIIG funding. Together, these components total approximately $104.6 million in LCFF revenue for 25-26, making it the district's largest ongoing revenue source.
One thing I'd like to point out, if you go back to that slide, Ms. Piantos, is the education protection account funding is quite significant there. It's almost $24 million that we receive as a school district. Back in 2012, I believe, it was Prop 30, and then it got reauthorized in 2016, if I'm remembering correctly, as Prop 55. Temporary taxes on the highest income earners, the top 1%, there's a sales tax component. When it got reauthorized, it was just the higher income tax. It's set to expire in 2030. There is a ballot initiative that's in the works that will be on the November of 2026 ballot if there's enough signatures that get certified. Very critical to public education. $23 million would be the loss of funding for Monte City School District, and it would be an equal amount for every district. Every district receives that amount. So that's something that we're closely monitoring, and we will share more information with the board as more details come out regarding that. But that's a big amount of funding that we have baked into the Proposition 98 guarantee, and we're projecting that we're going to guarantee or rely on that funding going forward. What would happen if that ballot initiative doesn't pass? Well, then the state aid portion would have to then backfill what the EPA amount generates. And unlikely that the state aid portion, which is income taxes, right? Mainly personal income taxes, would be able to fill that. So they would reduce the funding considerably for schools. That would be that's about 25% of our LCFF funding there. So we're closely monitoring that. Currently, under law, the funding is there through 2030. So I'm glad to see that there's proactive stakeholders out there that have pushed forward a ballot initiative for the upcoming calendar year. And if it doesn't pass for whatever reason, well, we have another crack at it in 2028 and 2030 if needed. So that's something we're monitoring closely. I know it's a few years away, but if it doesn't get extended, it's going to be very impactful to school districts across the state of California.
While the current year budget is important, the state also requires us to look ahead and evaluate our financial position over multiple years. This slide shows the district's multi-year financial projections through 27-28 fiscal year. Based on the first interim projections, the district is meeting its financial obligations for the current year and the subsequent 2 fiscal years, which satisfy state fiscal certification requirements. The state requires a minimum unrestricted reserve of 3%, and the district is projected to remain above that minimum in all 3 years. However, the projections also reflect ongoing general fund deficits, meaning reserves are being used to support operations. While the district remains fiscally solvent, continued deficit spending is not sustainable long-term and will require ongoing adjustments. Another major factor affecting the district's long-term fiscal health is student enrollment. Since 2014-15, the district has experienced a steady decline in enrollment. Enrollment is projected to continue decreasing through 27-28, representing a loss of more than 2,500, or approximately 31%. Because LCFF funding is tied directly to enrollment and attendance, declining enrollment remains one of the most significant fiscal challenges facing the district. Key planning assumptions included funded COLA estimates, a high unduplicated pupil percentage, required STRS and PERS contribution rates, and annual step and column increases and staffing adjustments aligned with the enrollment declines. Given these enrollment trends, the next slide outlines the key planning assumptions we use to build our multi-year projections and account for both revenue and cost pressures. This slide summarizes the key assumptions behind our projections, including COLA estimates and staffing adjustments tied to declining enrollment. These assumptions reflect known cost pressures and help ensure our projections remain realistic and conservative. While the district is meeting its financial obligations for the current year and the subsequent 2 fiscal years, this slide highlights the key factors contributing to longer-term budget pressure. First, the district is facing the expiration of approximately $11.2 million in one-time grant funding at the end of 25-26 school year. Some of these funds have supported programs and staffing, and continuing these supports would require ongoing general fund resources. Second, we have the special education expenditures continue to grow faster than revenues, driven by staffing needs, contracted services. This trend increases the level of general fund contribution required each year. And finally, continued enrollment declines increase long-term revenue volatility. Because LCFF funding is directly tied to enrollment and attendance, even modest declines can have a meaningful impact on the ongoing revenue. Together, these factors help explain the structural pressures reflected in the district's multi-year projections. As we close, I want to briefly outline what comes next in the budget process. Next steps include board certification of the 25-26 first interim report, and then the release of 26-27 proposed state budget in January, and then the presentation of the 26-27 LCAP and adopted budget in June. In closing, the first interim confirms that the district remains fiscally solvent and is meeting its financial obligations. At the same time, it highlights ongoing structural challenges driven by declining enrollment, rising costs, and the expiration of one-time funding sources. We will continue to closely monitor the budget and bring updates to the board at future reporting periods.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Are there any questions from the board at this time? Thank you. And thank you again for always reminding us of the various factors that are contributing, right? We always know about decline enrollment, but also highlighting just like increased cost, staffing, all of that, and all those various areas at those last slides. Thank you. Right, do we have an approval for the report? Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll
Is there
second.
Second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Item number 3, consideration for approval of certificated personnel matters.
Thank you. This is normally a routine item that falls within our action consent, but tonight we wanted to bring it separately and just kind of highlight a few individuals that have submitted their retirements. But with that, I also want to highlight in the action consent on our classified routine, we had Martha Espinosa, who is a current nutrition service lead at Clemenson, who will be retiring at the end of this month with 32 years. And then if we look back to November, we had Paige Davenport, who's one of our clinic assistants over at the Jeff Seymour Family Center, who's going to be retiring at 23 years. And then Adriana Larios, who is an ISS over at Lagore, was my ISS when I first started there at Lagore as a 6th grade teacher, who's going to be retiring at the end of this month with 39 years. So we have some incredible dedicated employees in our classified side as well who are going on to the exciting part of their lives, right, where they can enjoy some time. But with that, on our certificated side, we have 4 teachers that have submitted their retirements effective, obviously, at the end of the school year. Adriana Torres from Potrero has 30 years of service. Corrine Wilson at Clemenson is going to have 25 years of service at the end of the year. Gloria Herrera, teacher at Shropshire, is going to have 36 years, and then Luz Conrique is going to have, she's also at Shropshire, is going to have 37 years as well. at the end of this school year. And so that's why we wanted to pull it and just do it kind of separately, just to kind of highlight our certificate of staff, but then also weave in our incredible classified staff as well that will be leaving us at the end of this month.
Thank you. And on behalf of the board, congratulations and thank you to all of the retirees. Okay. Do we have a motion for item 3?
Motion to approve.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Next, we have our board policy updates, and these are regularly updated to align with any local, state, or federal laws. We are going to be voting on them as a whole. Okay. Do I have a motion for the board policy updates, items 1 through 21?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any questions or discussion on any of the items? Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much. All right. Next, we have item O, our discussion session, starting with item 1 on CSBA discussion. I was not able to attend this year, but I will let the rest of my board members share their takeaways from the great conference that they attended. Whoever wants to
I'll
jump
start.
in.
We'll go from one into the other.
Sylvia?
So this time I focused a lot on AI because I know it's going to be a big issue for us as it is for all school districts. So I went to several workshops related to that in different ways, got to hear things going on in different school districts. Kind of big takeaways. One is that everybody's figuring it out. I don't think anybody, went in there presenting like, oh, we have all the answers. It definitely isn't that. And that things are evolving so quickly that it's challenging to keep up. But CSBA has had a task force for the last 2 years, I believe, that has been both with educators and board members and people in the field, and has come up with board policies, ARs, things like that, that they will be pushing out or that we can use as a resource to make sure that we are current with our policies. A lot of them are sort of broad, not specific to AI, but general good practices in terms of technology use and education policies and things like that. The Department of Education also has a task force, but theirs is not coming out with some things specific to what we would want to implement and things like that. The other really big takeaway is that we really can't afford to wait, I think, is kind of the big message I heard from everybody, to make sure that we are keeping this front and center, that we are taking the lead with it, not letting the students get involved with something that may quickly get out of control, making sure that we are setting the policy and the guidelines for what it looks like in schools rather than being reactive to it. There is not any consistent curriculum yet in terms of providing education or support for teachers on how to use this kind of technology. There's a lot of different programs and things out there. So there really isn't a recommended, this is the training you should have, nor is there specific training for students that's sort of the recommended curriculum there. So again, everyone's kind of figuring it out, but there are a lot of resources. One of the important things they said is when you do have professional development for your staff, that you include all staff, not just certificated, that sort of thing. Also making sure that parents are included, that the board is included, because it's just something that's going to transform. They kind of talk about it's completely transformative of what school and education is going to be like. Let's see. So talking about that, everyone needs to know how to use the technology, and not specific to a particular program or thing like that, because they said this is sort of the Wild West right now, and that there's going to be, if you learn a specific program and how to use that, and then that goes out of business, you want to make sure that the skills are transferable. Making sure that we keep human interactions at the center. So, it's easy to kind of let AI just take over things, but making sure that it's you're people-centered with what you're doing. Another key thing to keep in mind is making sure we don't create a tech divide even within schools. where you have one teacher who's very comfortable with the programs and things that students can use, and another teacher maybe who isn't yet, so that you may have, kids may be getting very, very different classroom experiences as a result. And so making sure that we are consistent with what students are being exposed to or the way they're allowed to use the technology. Their general recommendation was to be permissive with sort of restrictions on specific things, as opposed to we block everything and only allow a couple of things. So they said it's easier, and it also benefits everybody more when that's taken into account. Let's see, there's also, again, so many opportunities that it offers in terms of special education, helping students to access and communicate in ways that they might not otherwise, not letting language be a barrier, not letting someone's ability to write be a barrier. If the task is to communicate that you've learned something, the ability to write, may prevent someone from being able to share what they actually know. And so this, there's a lot of opportunities there. And let's see, so I think there's just a lot of looking at the ways that it can be used and then the ways that it should be used. And I think really being specific about what we want to do with that. And I think so as a board member, I think the things I would be looking for is that we're, as a district, we're moving quickly to address trainings. I think there was a PD related to that earlier in the year. But I think it's going to be an ongoing thing. As a board, I think we should educate ourselves about it. And then I think, making sure that we are keeping up with the board policies and understanding what that means for our students and for our teachers. And as much as somebody was saying this, as much as the pandemic was such a big shift in education in terms of the way we use technology and the kinds of technologies that are out there, they were saying this is much bigger than that is. So it's there, it's something that students already have access to, it's something parents already have access to, and I think it will fall to us as a school district to make sure everyone understands. And then kind of the final thing I wanted to bring up is, as we look at what this looks like for us as a district, I would really be interested in maybe convening or communicating with our partner districts, so that, with the high school district, for instance, our students will be going there, and we want to make sure that our policies align with their expectations as well, so that students don't get to high school and are either unprepared or have a very different mindset about it than that will be expected when they get to high school. So that's kind of my quick overview. Happy to have continued conversations about it, but I think this is the time to start dealing with these kinds of things. And again, there's a lot of really neat, amazing things that can happen. It can save time. It can allow things to be more creative because you have to bring, your skills and knowledge to let the AI know what it is that you want to do. And then there's also a lot of really interesting programs and systems that at just the district operational level. One of the examples they had was they had fed all of their health policies into the system. And so when a new opportunity came up, it was able to quickly analyze everything and then create this is what we have, this is what the new thing offers, this is the cost benefit. And so it's able to do things that they said saved, hundreds of staff hours, because it's able to just do those kinds of, simple kinds of analysis for us. So anyway, I'll stop there. That was kind of my big takeaway from CSBA, but I'm really excited about it, and I think it's a good opportunity for us to take the lead as well with our district. So thank you.
So I kind of spread myself out a little bit. I focused on 3 different topics. The first one I was really excited for was the gubernatorial forum, and that was eye-opening in a few ways, as far as the candidates and the support for certain candidates was surprising, considering the audience that was there. One candidate was in support of the school voucher system, so that's going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, just to considering our budget problems that we're going to be possibly seeing in the future. So it was very, like I said, eye-opening. I was kind of surprised by some of the things that were being said in that room. The second area, then, moving on from there, was I went to a few of the budget type of sessions where we were able to discuss how to prepare for the future, and I see a lot of the things that they were discussing in those sessions were things that we're already doing now. So it was good to see that we are implementing these best practices that they have already been using from before. The last one that I was interested in was was how districts should prepare and respond to immigration enforcement activity around and on school campus. And I think a lot of the audience was hoping to hear from the lawyers that it was okay for them as school staff, or for them to tell school staff that they can get physically involved in preventing some of that activity, and that's not what the lawyers were saying at all. There were some very specific things that we as a school district can do, and there's very specific things as a school district that we cannot do. And again, these are items that I believe were already being implemented here, so I wasn't too concerned about how our response is going to be. But just seeing that there's obviously a lot of school districts, a lot of school board members who have the same concerns that we do, and nobody really has an answer. Nobody really knows what the proper response should be. We all know what we want to do, but at the same time, what is the correct way to go about it is something that's still kind of in flux. But yep, those were the areas, and like Ms. Cobian said, if we want to discuss further, we're always open for that.
Yeah, I really appreciated being able to go to CSBA again. It's really such a great training thing for all board members across the state. And, you can be trained as many times and just, you still need it, right? Because the needs, like you're sharing, Mr. Peralta, they change from year to year. And the things that different districts are working on shift as well. So it's a really great training session. And like you shared, what we hear is so similar to what's happening here, right? Like, oh, okay, that sounds familiar. That sounds like something that our administration's already doing. So that's always great as well. I'll just mention 4 different workshops that I attended. The first was on career readiness for our students. They were focusing on CTE opportunities, like you mentioned in your presentation, Dr. Pinedo. Talked quite a bit about just promoting CTE options and clarifying pathways starting in the middle school years, so that by the time they're in high school, they're really ready to engage in a certification program, and also to clarify those different options that there are as students are looking ahead to career paths. The second was a child safety and well-being session, and it was really just an encouragement for board members to continue working on practices that promote child well-being. They focused on 2 areas in particular: discipline, which they actually said, instead of using discipline, let's use effective practices and appropriate responses to behaviors, right? Instead of just focusing on that particular word. So the idea was continue to explore more effective practices that would be appropriate responses to student behaviors, and then for other needs that students come to school with, to continue to develop MTSS systems. So the session overall really highlighted the importance of establishing and maintaining trusting relationships with adults for all of our students. The third session was on teacher well-being and educator thriving. Very interesting one that was actually co-hosted by an organization that does surveys of teachers and educators. And one of my takeaways there was they really emphasized that in doing this study across many districts, they found that the largest factor that contributes to the thriving of educators is responsive leadership and supportive culture. And there are other factors as well, but that one particular factor explained half of the variation of the data, and the other factors were important, of course, as well. But overall, the takeaway there was that, continuing to remember teacher well-being and thriving as board members is key, and that there are resources out there to support in that. And then lastly, the last session I'll share about was had to do with RFEP students and the importance of continuing to track their success throughout their schooling so that gaps do not emerge. It was highlighted today in our California dashboard that our students, we do pretty well in that area, and they encouraged some sort of coordination so that we can continue to track their progress through high school and even college. And also reference that there are districts that do really, really well in this area and really should be highlighted and celebrated because of that. That's all for me.
I would like to thank Cesar for reminding me about the forums. I did go to both of the forums, and I was impressed with certain candidates and their knowledge for Superintendent of Public Instruction and Governor. One out, and I was watching the techniques. One of the presenters had this wonderful outfit that sparkled, and she would stand up. Everybody else was sitting down, and that in itself was a great attention getter. And the knowledge was there from most people, and their willingness to get involved in educating the public and talking about the schools. I came away with a different approach on AI, artificial instruction. I used to be so enthusiastic about it. After a careful reflection, I've been thinking it will tend to destroy creativity. People who buy into AI are too into, well, it's got to be perfect, and it's not. A lot of false information could be in that. The question is, if you produce something in AI, how much of it is actually yours? And there's a great debate there. And some districts already have policies for AI, which we need to work on and get that done. And one of the cautionaries that came out of the contact with the attorneys at the legal seminar was updating our policies, making sure that we have them updated, because if certain things happen and we have nothing in the policy to say this was something that happened and we had no reaction back, it can cause us major problems. One reminder was about behavior of board members. If any of us post something on Facebook or any of the social media, we should not, as board members, respond to what's up there, because then it will look as if we're having a board meeting. And one attorney said it would be a wise thing whenever we appear in public to have somebody sitting beside us who's not a board member, and avoid the three people together, because people do take pictures, and there are unscrupulous people who invent things, as we all know, in the media. And again, about artificial intelligence, we really have to do some work on that. Some districts are way ahead of us, but I think one of the advantages, tap into what they've already done. There's a national headquarters on that. And also about parent involvement, they really said we should really work more in that, get more parents coming to our meetings, let them know that we are open to hearing from them, because they are our constituents. And overall, I was impressed with the CSBA, the value that they place on keeping current issues in mind and reacting back and having something to say. And they did encourage us to appear in more events around the community because we are serving the community and we need to let people know that we're out there. And since I have a lot of contact with Vietnamese in our community, a very large number, they keep asking me not if we're going to have dual immersion, they want to know when. And I was thinking seriously, I don't know if as a board member if I could do it, contact the billionaire owner of the Sriracha company over in Baldwin Park and say, would you be willing to fund a project? And nothing ventured, nothing gained. But overall, I think the CSB had so many offerings that were at the same time. And I did come away with a reminder to them that they keep forgetting. They need to have seminars, presentations on what's available out there for scholarships. I couldn't find anything about that. And I'm running across a number of them. Like I keep harping, and I'll use the word, on the Carson Scholarship. No one in our district has ever applied for it. It's one per school. It's $1,000. And last year, Rosemead High School finally got one person who did. And even like the PTA, that was brought up also. We need to activate our PTAs because PTAs have a lot to say to us and that we can say back to them. There's a scholarship every year for PTA in high school. Kids need to know about it. But overall, I think CSBA this year was very, very good. I was very impressed. And again, I was disappointed at the number of sessions that were at the same time, and you can't be in too many. And I would recommend that they record some of those so we can go back and see them. So I would go on forever, but I won't. I'll let you rest your ears and your minds. But again, CSB has a lot of offering for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. All right, thank you so much for everyone for sharing their takeaways from the CSBA conference. Are there any future discussion items anyone would like to add to a future agenda? One thing I know that me and Ms. Cobian are going to be working on to present at the January board meeting is an update to our governance handbook. Yes. Yeah. And then with that, about a month ago, one of the board members from Glendale Unified, I was going through my emails, I remembered, but he had sent, I think it was Ms. Rivas and myself, including Dr. Garcia, Glendale Unified School District, I'm pulling it up here, they passed it, right? And it's on their district website, but they created a code of ethics for Board of Education. Specifically, they created a whole ethics complaint procedure. And so in knowing that we're going to be updating our board procedures, maybe that's something that me and Ms. Cobian can kind of look at. And what it has, and it's a board bylaw for them, and it's on their district website. And then there's a whole step-by-step process on an ethics complaint form, really focusing on ensuring accountability for board, if there's any violations on board bylaws, right, or conflicts of interest, misuse of official position violation, gifts and gratuities violation, Brown Act violation, there's an actual procedure. And so that's just thinking, especially with we're having elections in another year, and we don't know, year to year things can change, right? So I was just thinking maybe this could be something that we could possibly look at and consider of including for the Ahwahnee City School District as well. Okay. All right, so we will be bringing that back to the board in January. If there's no any other items, I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 6:43 p.m. Thank you.
Well done.